Khamithi Hebrew Ethics welcomes you. We just want to look at which scientist of Africa, what has millions of black people who now follow the Judeo-Christian as well as Islamic ideology gained. Can we measure it in spiritual value, in terms? What have they lost? What are we lacking spiritually as carbon people? What we are lacking is understanding the tools that we should use, and also we are lacking to understand Heka, which is pure magic, or the power of working magic or sorcery or spell or incantations or charm. And it is sorcery that has given us a lot of problems. Now, ancient African Arcane science, since most Africans follow religions of the books, let us examine a tradition that is now outrightly been proscribed, and the real purpose why this cultural activity has been prohibited. So when you go to Exodus 22 verse 18 in the King James Version Bible, you find that it says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." And the questions that must come from there is, if your biological father or mother practice the science or art of witchcraft, what would you do? Would you kill them or ostracize them? Would you ask them to teach you or for you to learn the craft and perhaps decide to use it wisely and appropriately? Would you like to learn the art so that you can defend yourself? What would you do? What? Would you become a witch or a wizard? We see here our ancient ancestors in ancient Egypt who were great masters in the art of wizardry and the arcane science of witchcraft. What is a witch? The word witch etymologically denotes one that knows. Historically, both males and females were counted as witches. The Anglo-Saxon word wicca, to which the English word is traced to, is masculine and has been changed to be feminine alone. Now, yet it's masculine, the original. How has it become associated with females? Anyway, wizard is given as masculine for witch, and this is not correct. But it has in reality no connection with this. Right? English Dialectic Dictionary, Volume 7, 521 states that they never heard any uneducated person speak of wizard. When this word is used by the people, it denotes, he says, a person who loosens the work of a witch. Shakespeare often uses witch for a male. For example, in Cymbeline, he says he is a witch. Bantu concept of kushopera. The concept attached to witch and witchcraft were unknown in biblical times. When you compare with modern times, therefore these words have no place in English Bible. This has been known to some extent, but not completely by the revisers of 1884. The word witch occurs twice in the King James Version, namely in Exodus 22 verse 18, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch," that is in the revised version of the American and the British. Then they say sorcerer to live. Now, we look at this and we find that the Hebrew word in both cases is the participle of the verb kish she pu. Where does this word come from? It is a word derived from the Shona Bantu word kushopera. Mashope. In Leviticus 19:31 it says, "Regard them not that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your creator." Yet what we know from this scripture in quick demonstration is that God said he shall send the spirit of Elijah. Was that not a familiar spirit? In 1 Kings 22 we see God assembled in the heavens in dialogue with various spirits on how they could attack Ahab. We also know that in Genesis, God is reputed to have said he could hear the voice of the blood of Abel crying to him after Cain had slaughtered him. This word, this verse occurs only, and this word occurs only in Exodus 22:18, and is rendered Mekash Shepe. The Bantu word is Ma'aku Shopera or Ma'aku Mashope Shop. The feminine form of the word meaning enchantress, and in Deuteronomy 18:10 is the rendering of Mekashepes. The masculine form of the word meaning enchanter. The expression witch of Endor or Endora occurs regularly in literature and especially in common parlance. Nevertheless, it is not found in the English Bible. The expression has originated from the caption and summary of the King James Version, both often so disingenuous. In 1 Samuel 28, where alone the character is spoken of, English versions of the Bible translate the Hebrew phrase, Eshet Paha laughed off by a woman that is the familiar spirit. A literal rendering would be a woman who is a mistress of an orb or a ghost. One who is able to compel the departed spirit to return and to answer a number of questions. This is what we all must understand, that the shocking truth on witchcraft. The modern Christians' ideas conveyed by the English word witch and all other Hebrew or Arabic terms and their cognates are unknown in African wisdom. The Hebrew people, with their biblical narrative of the times in which they are speaking and writing of, are written and edited history. The Africans who follow this and reject, they are trained to reject their original gift. It is clear that the ancient Hebrews and other nations of antiquity viewed the black African scientists, specifically those Ethiopian Egyptian ones, as a highly awesome superior class of Thaumaturgians, true magicians or wonder workers who had superhuman power over living creatures, including men, and also over nature and natural objects. Therefore, they had cosmic and personal power. The English word witch actually originates from ancient Khamithi, Africa, land of the black, as Wadj or Uadj, which is a Khamitan word which means power, health, water, and many others. And a Wadj scepter represents the tied bundle of herbs for health and prosperity. These are energies that we should have. These are energies that we should always use to accompany us. Yoruba language and traditions can be traced directly to Kemet. Ah-JZAY is a Yoruba term meaning witch. The ah-JZAY is an energy like a Wadjet. So the Bible evidence that there is a lot of confusion there comes from the three versions that we are showing here: the King James Version, Good News Bible, and Revised Standard Version. The King James Version says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Good News Bible says, "Put to death any woman who practices magic." The Revised Standard Version says, "You shall not permit a sorceress to live." There is no single agreeable translation. Why? Because there is no single or other European synonyms to witch as found in Hebrew. So the words magician, sorcerer, or witch are interchangeably used by Bible scholars and translators. Witchcraft as we know it today was not a part of the culture of the people of ancient Israel in biblical times. Abraham, Moses, Saul, and Paul did not have witches in their culture. What they had were Thaumaturgians, who are medicine men, psychics, herbalists, and astrologers. So when the King James Version Bible says witch, it is actually referring to a juju man, boho or poko in a way, or comfort in a can, or nisnin in a can, once or ga omroy omtakat. The Hebrew word used in the verse quoted comes from the participle of the word kisheshepi, denoting practice of the magical art, which we have proved comes from kushopera. What about animal sacrifices? The matter of sacrifices. Theology was the intrinsic science of the cultivation of the soul, whilst thaumaturge is the noun. In other words, the practitioner or the person who is using these energies to produce natural phenomena based on psychological forces inherent inside him. You see here the story of Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac. He is using both internal and external magic or magical powers, and these people are witnessing what he is doing, and the energies are already associated with him, and the animal here and all these signs mean he is saying he is actually enhancing his animalistic tendencies, and the fire and the darkness are all associated with this energy. Now, the story of Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac indicates two primary shocking facts about the God of the Bible as presented in that activity, in that event. In other words, he accepted human sacrifices and also accepted animal sacrifices. Please note, this same God later, as we are taught today, who do not want such sacrifices, oblations, or rituals. Why? What has happened? How has he changed? Now, last Spirit of a Man came teaches that it is not suggested that we practice some of the things that we are going to explain here without the knowledge of the energy forces. When we look at the present day activity of Leviticus 16, or the scapegoat of the goat or atonement, we find that by being driven into the infertile desert places with this immense load of transmitted sin that has been pulled from an individual or from the community, the scapegoat or the sacrificial goat, the living one, becomes the center of attraction of witches who take this goat and then start to worship it and start to use it because it has already achieved a status of power by having sins of the people put on it. To the worshippers of this devil, the process is quite logical. As has been demonstrated prior to this, there are energies that have been stored in this sacrificial goat or the goat of atonement. Now, when this sin-bearing goat, as practiced in witchcraft, is a worthy, is cast out and has become a sin-bearer, to the witches, the witches take it back because of its sin-bearing potential and worship it as a god. Though they did not deliberately or rather consciously trace this practice of the scapegoat ceremony and its implicit sameness to Satan the devil, since Satan the devil was unknown in African Bantu tradition, what African Bantus knew was shatter or acts of evil or acts that are against the natural laws of the community. In considering the sacrifice of the goat by the witch doctor, careful to remember that in Leviticus, the one for whom the sacrifice is an oblation shall lay his hands upon the head of it. After the sacrifice, the priests, so-called sons, the sons of Aaron, are enjoined to sprinkle the blood, also the fat. Finally, it is laid. The parts are laid and they are burned. Here we are dealing with the red heifer, which is found in the amongst our practice from the Alunda to the Zulu, from North Africa, all across the African or the black people. The ritual, the incantations of animals sacrifices is performed. Now, when we look at this activity, they take a red heifer and they kill it in a special way, and they collect the blood and they put some herbs and light a fire and burn it. Now, I'm just going to read quickly here. It says, the witch doctor brings a special selected goat to the sick person or community, right? We have looked at that. Where leads the goat to the camp, as we shall see, where prepared medicine is bubbling in a pot over a little fire. Here he performs a ritual incantation ordering the goat to bear the sin and imploring the spirit to accept the sacrifice. He then orders the relatives or a priest of the community to kill the goat, which they do by cutting its throat and collecting the blood in the bowl. The blood, the medicine, with the admixture of certain leaves and herbs and roots is added. The doctor then takes the concoction and sprinkles the sick with it, and also the entrance to the heart and the heart. While this ceremonial sprinkling of the medicated blood is proceeding, the goat is being dissected. The doctor comes back, collects the kidneys, the heart, the fat, the caul, and burns them utterly with fire. The head and all what is left of the medicine, he then takes to a special place which varies from place to place, sometimes a deformed tree or some specific place where this treated blood is sprinkled and hidden. He names the avenging spirit when he is at that place and implores it to accept what they have already given it, and then demands that it takes its impact or negative force from the people. These are the rituals that many of us would call mumbo jumbo, and perhaps they are not. Why? Because the startling fact remains they work. This was written by Kaig, containing the Bantu tradition around the 1930s and 1940s, and he witnessed this, and today I can testify that such practices are becoming less and less because of what we have been believe. This little digression that we have done is germane to our context, in that many of these animal sacrifices which are demanded in the Jewish religion are today still practiced and carried out in ancient Africa, inextricably mixed with witch doctoring and witchcraft itself. So there is an unholy alliance there, which it will take considerable effort to sort out and select which one we need. And also that's why this ritual or these rituals are disappearing, because many people abuse them. In short, then anti-witch sorceries, as indeed we have looked at, require animal sacrifices. Certain witch doctor performances also call for sacrifices, mostly of cocks or hens, with the ritual sprinkling of the blood, sometimes of larger animals. In the witchcrafts in general, animals and others, often babies are sacrificed. The young ones of the animals are often sacrificed as integral part, while oblational sacrifices for this or that sin are also common. In this story, we realize that even Abraham went on and offered a burnt offering of the ram that he saw given to him. So we all laugh at this and we say, no, we can't do. But if you read John 6:53, you find that people are now sympathetically engaged in witchcraft by drinking the blood, or symbolic blood of a human being. Because if you do this, why would you eat flesh? Christians do this in Holy Communion, and when the shaman performs a similar ritual, he is condemned to hell. Who has taught us to do so? What about a belief and active faith that some human being a few years back died to save your soul? Is that not ingwendele ongozi? We must understand these rituals because they form the basis of our culture. In conclusion, therefore, it is time for us to move to reverse the formula that has moved us from being wizards to witches. We are sympathetic witches, which is the current status of most black folks who visit these religions. That is why our nation is weak, because we are practicing the art and science and culture and energy generation of other cultures. It is ancient African thinkers became adepts in their knowledge and operation of the greatest science and art ever discoverable or discovered on earth, the science of the soul, or the science of the divine spark. This Arcane philosophy is not known today. There are no original books or works that can assist you in this. You have to cultivate it yourself. Why? You have to use what has come from those hoary times by some accident or by some known form of default, which are scattered scientifically all over, like formulas, in functions, in incantation, in rituals, in meditations, and other phenomena with a religious aspect. Due to the animalistic nature of the Bantu, the original Arcane soul science has been converted via human ego and
Wadj.